Beginning Wednesday at 5 and 10 on the News on 6.
Dive!
Beneath the surface, the U.S. Navy's ultimate weapon glides silently through deep waters. So silently, it can't be detected.
Man battle station's missile.
Now, reporter Scott Thompson, the Oklahoma Traveler, takes you inside a classified nuclear submarine. Discover America's deep secret. Beginning Wednesday at 5 and 10 on the News on 6, working in the spirit of Oklahoma.
Beneath the waters of the Atlantic, the U.S. keeps a deep secret.
It's one of the most lethal machines in our nation's military arsenal. Tonight, News on 6 reporter Scott Thompson and photographer Grand Gerondale take us aboard the USS Rhode Island.
Dawn, off Cape Canaveral, Florida. Fishing boats scurry past cruise ships and freighters from all corners of the world. And on the horizon, what looks like a whale about to beach itself, some kind of science fiction sea serpent. But look closer, and you see men on this monster's back. Men who've mastered this monster. The men in charge of America's newest, most lethal weapon, the nuclear submarine USS Rhode Island.
America has placed an immense amount of responsibility in our hands.
And an equally immense amount of weaponry, as we find out when we board the sub. She packs a deadly punch with 24 Trident nuclear missiles and an ability to slink silently through the world's oceans to deliver, if need be, her knockout punch. The Navy took delivery of the Rhode Island only this summer. We're aboard for what amounts to the test drive.
What it means is you're taking 165 sailors that have never worked together before and going out to sea in the early stages of testing.
Bridge Navigator 8500 yards to turn, recommend.
Out to sea this day means heading for the open water of the Atlantic, escorted by a joyous welcoming party of dolphins. When riding the surface, the only place to stand and see the sun is atop the conning tower, a tiny cramped vantage point beneath the periscopes and antenna, which offers a glorious view, in stark contrast to the nerve center of this sub.
And solid 1/3.
Very well.
2 stories below is the control room, bristling with electronics and the energy of a crew new to each other and their ship. It's here that routes are plotted, where the engine room and missile room and nuclear reactor are tied together into a fighting machine. And despite the gee-whizzardry of it all, this billion-dollar craft is driven by 2 men who sit in front of small steering wheels and a handful of dials.
Dive, dive, 2 blasted dive alarms. Repeat, dive, dive.
Dive, dive, 2 blast dive alarm, dive, dive.
Dive!
And it is beneath the surface where the Rhode Island does her best work. Wrapped in a protective cover of sonar-busting coatings, her internal equipment kept away from the outside walls, the Rhode Island can sneak through the water virtually undetected.
Last man down, head secured.
Her main job is to approach a land-based target, launch her missiles, and get out before anyone knows she was there.
Hopefully the president will never call us into action. That we'll succeed in our mission completely if the submarine goes and it's retired and it's never used any of its missile tubes in anger, which none has ever done.
But the sub's crew can't rest on history's bed. There is room for very little on a sub, most especially assumption. So drills are essential. And in this one, the president has ordered the Rhode Island to fire her missiles.
Man battle station's missile for training without guidance with launcher. Simulate spinning up all missiles.
Chief of the watch, sound the general alarm. Sound the general alarm, like sir. Dive, make it at 130 feet. Prepare to hover at 130 feet. Helm, all stop.
From the surreal silence of the ocean's depths, these men practice the launch of a hellish onslaught.
Targeting verified.
Permission to fire. 2 away. Prepare 14. Denote 15.
All missiles off but one.
Misfire 214.
Reset.
From a room that looks little different from a shopping mall arcade, they can't know what fury they've unleashed.
She simulated the launch of 23 missiles just now.
Whatever you were shooting at probably isn't there anymore.
Well, it's probably not there. Some of it's not there anymore. Some of it's not going to be there much longer.
Such is the work of the Rhode Island, to secretly prowl the globe, armed to the teeth, yet invisible.
She cost more than $1 billion to build. Her shakedown cruise will last well into 10 months. Yet the crew of the nuclear submarine Rhode Island hope they never have to use any of the weapons that have been placed at their disposal.
That's what America's assigned us to do. They've paid an expensive price to build this machine, and we want to operate it so that it does the mission that it's been designed to do.
A billion-dollar killer whose mission will be accomplished if she never loses her temper here in the peace of Poseidon's realm. Aboard the USS Rhode Island, Scott Thompson, the News on 6.
What's it like to live aboard a submarine that's considered a deep secret? Find out tomorrow night.
We'll look forward to that. Fascinating to get to go inside something like that.
Excellent. And I always enjoy seeing our fighting men and women protecting us.
Yes, indeed. A classic rivalry prepares to heat up between the Cowboys and
Fort Gibson, Broken Arrow, and across eastern Oklahoma.
Could you manage to live in a long metal tube hundreds of feet below the ocean for months at a time?
Well, that's what's being asked of America's silent service. News on 6 reporter Scott Thompson and photographer Grand Gerondale recently took an exclusive trip aboard the nation's newest nuclear submarine. And on board, they found Oklahomans entrusted with keeping the nation's deep secrets.
The USS Rhode Island is brand new and enormous. 560 feet long, 6 stories tall.
500 yards to turn, recommend.
When at sea, her wake is miles long. But filled with equipment, nuclear missiles, and a full contingent of crew, there's little room to spare. She's a claustrophobic's nightmare.
Everything is here that you need. You have a place to work, you have a place to sleep, a place to watch movies, a place to eat, a place to take a shower.
A curtain hangs between each of the Trident nuclear missile tubes, and behind each curtain is home for 9 men.
This is where we live, this is where we sleep, this is all our personal stuff. If anything we got reminds us of home, this is where it's going to be at.
Each man gets a tiny storage space, and whichever bunk is available.
You got to get along well to survive in these kind of close quarters, don't you?
I mean, everything's just, you work them out real nice. Everyone has to be friends. You've got to be friends living in quarters like this.
Your bed is your privacy. That's your space. Nobody really messes with that. And if you want privacy, you just go in there. They usually don't bother you there.
The Rhode Island will be at sea for 60 to 70 days at a time. There is no mail delivery and no contact with home. To counter that, submariners are given more pay and better meals.
Hey, delicious, thanks.
We have a lot of people that come through. If the meal's bad, they have a bad day. We try to make them sure the meals are good 4 times a day.
The day we were aboard ship, lunch was steak and shrimp, baked potatoes, vegetables, salad, and pie. The dining room is so small, eating is done in shifts, and the sailors are reminded to chew, not talk. The kitchen never closes. A meal is served every 6 hours.
There's always pastries out there for them, leftovers. They come in the galley usually. If they miss dinner, there's leftovers. They come, masters ever in here, they can get them something to eat. It helps out their day a lot.
A 90-day supply of food is kept aboard, secured in a pantry that demands to be approached single file.
Yeah, there's stuff back down here. We have dehydrated shrimp we keep down here. Different Oreo cookies. Gotta have them on board. Morale.
Down here, the clock has been reduced to 18 hours. 6 hours of work, 12 hours off.
In the 12 hours you have off watch, you pretty much do what you want, but there's also, if there's work to do during the 12 hours, you do that. And if not, you sleep during that time, stuff like that.
There's also time to think of the isolation, of missing the folks at home, of living at the bottom of the sea. Harold Garcia is from Midwest City and works in the Rhode Island's torpedo room.
You have to keep yourself really busy, because if not, you'll lose it.
Nah, you just don't think about it. You can't sit, because if you ever did, I mean, any human would it'd just bother them. You'd just worry yourself to death.
After every cruise, we were told, someone's wife has asked for a divorce. Someone's girlfriend has left. The average submariner's career lasts 3 years. Yet there's intense competition for each of these spots. Sailors must graduate from a special submarine school to get a berth here. They're part of the silent service and proud of it.
Until our country decides that we have no need for this type of submarine, we'll continue to do our job.
And somewhere tonight, that's what they're doing. Perhaps beneath the polar ice cap, in the Mediterranean or the South Pacific. Men in command of America's most powerful weapons, of America's deep secret. In the Atlantic Ocean, aboard the USS Rhode Island, Scott Thompson, the News on 6.
Now I understand just how excruciating that work is.
They have to be strong, courageous men, and on this Veterans Day, once again, we salute all of them. You've always heard